Clark's reaction to the rumored Project B offer didn't come with a press conference or a dramatic announcement. It came in the form of silent leverage. As the face of modern women's basketball, her name alone draws media, merch sales, and record-breaking crowds. Now, as Saudi Arabia's Project B eyes her with a deal reportedly worth hundreds of millions, the WNBA is feeling the tremors.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Project B has already lured Nico Gumake from the WNBPA and is turning its attention to Clark as the centerpiece of a new era. Her next move could decide whether the WNBA remains a flagship league or gets overtaken by one with deeper pockets and a global reach. This isn't just a contract offer. It's a mirror held up to the economics of women's sports. For years, leagues like the WNBA have asked for loyalty while offering only marginal growth. But Clark's situation underscores a new reality. Athletes with market power are no longer tethered by legacy. If the money, structure, and influence are better elsewhere, why stay? Project B has made that question louder and impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark has officially responded, and whether you like it or not, the message is clear. She's not here to play by the old rules anymore. After weeks of rumors and a tidal wave of speculation, the WNBA's biggest star has reacted to the eye-watering offer from Saudi Arabia's Project B. And while the haters are losing their minds, Clark isn't flinching. Because when someone offers you hundreds of millions, potentially up to $1 billion, to keep doing what you love, the conversation shifts. It's no longer about legacy. It's about value. And suddenly, loyalty looks a lot more expensive. Let's get this straight. Project B didn't tiptoe into the room. It came to the front door with billion-dollar intentions and Saudi-backed funding that dwarfs anything the WNBA has ever put on the table. This isn't fantasy money. It's the same kind of capital that shook up soccer with Cristiano Ronaldo, rewired the PGA Tour with LIV Golf, and now it's zeroing in on the women's basketball world. Starting with the crown jewel herself, Caitlin, Project B isn't just offering money. It's offering structure, year-round play, global exposure, tournaments across Europe, Asia, Latin America, a chance to expand your career internationally while securing generational wealth. This isn't about a paycheck. It's about power. And Clark, she's paying attention. Let's be honest, this was bound to happen. The WNBA's pay gap has been a problem forever. Top stars make less than some G League contracts. Players regularly bolt overseas in the offseason to earn what they should be earning at home. And despite the league's growing audience, expanding media presence, and a surge in merchandise sales, its financial model still doesn't reflect the level of talent on the court. That's what makes Project B's offer so dangerous for the WNBA. It's not an empty threat. It's a solution to everything players have been complaining about for years. Clark's reaction wasn't emotional. It was calculated. You could tell. She's well aware of what this moment means. The WNBA isn't just being challenged, it's being exposed. Because when a foreign-backed league can offer 10 times the salary, full-time play, travel upgrades, and ownership stakes, every single player starts asking the same question. What am I still doing here? And the fact that the WNBA's Players Association president, Nico Gumake, already left for Project B? That tells you exactly what the players are thinking behind closed doors. Clark's silence at first spoke volumes. But now, her response is fueling a much bigger shift. One where players finally stop being afraid to chase what they're worth. There are two parts of this story unfolding in real time. The rise of Project B and the unraveling of the WNBA's monopoly. Project B has the money, the vision, and the infrastructure. And by hiring people like Gumake, it has the inside knowledge to recruit strategically. They know who's frustrated. They know which players are underpaid, overworked, and ready for change. Clark, Angel Reese, and other rising stars are right at the top of that list. Project B's timing is precise. The WNBA is deep in league negotiations, working with limited revenue and facing increasing pressure to evolve. It's the perfect storm, and the Saudi-backed league is exploiting every crack in the system. Some critics would try to reframe this as a moral issue, pointing fingers at Saudi Arabia's human rights record, drawing comparisons to other industries that have faced similar scrutiny. And those concerns are valid. They're real. But let's not pretend the sports world hasn't already made peace with that when it's convenient. The NBA has ties in China. FIFA held the World Cup in Qatar. Money and morality have always been uneasy teammates. Caitlin Clark isn't blind to the ethical conversations. But she also knows that no one in the WNBA is cutting 9-figure checks. And in a career that might only span 10 to 15 years at best, she, like every other athlete, has to weigh the long-term. Clark's potential move, whether she accepts the deal or simply uses as leverage, is proof that players now hold the cards. That shift in power is long overdue. For years, women's sports have been told to wait their turn, to build slowly, to be satisfied with exposure and growth. Project B just blew that narrative up. Now the market decides. And in the market, Caitlin Clark is worth it. The WNBA's current structure wasn't built to compete with this kind of capital. It runs on a legacy model. Community engagement, slow growth, corporate sponsorships that trickle in year by year. Meanwhile, Project B is moving like a private equity firm. It's all speed, scale, and spectacle. They don't just want to play alongside the WNBA. They want to replace it as the primary destination for elite women's basketball. Fever jersey, Clark's involvement is a credibility stamp they need. Let's be honest. If Clark signs with Project B, the WNBA loses more than a player. It loses momentum. Her games draw record attendance. Her jersey sales are unmatched. Her presence in the league is the closest thing the WNBA has to a guaranteed sellout. If she walks, everything gets recalculated: sponsorships, media rights, fan engagement. And it sets off a chain reaction that no amount of PR, spin can stop. Because if Caitlin Clark, the face of the WNBA, decides she can do better elsewhere, then every other player has permission to follow. That's the threat. And that's also the opportunity. The WNBA has two options: adapt or be relegated to a feeder league. It can no longer rely on history, nostalgia, or branding to retain its stars. It has to compete. That means restructuring contracts, bringing in new investors, expanding globally, and making the athlete experience as rewarding as the competition. The days of emotional loyalty are gone. This is business now. High stakes, high speed, and global. Project B has made it clear it's not waiting for permission. It's not interested in incremental change. It's not playing by the old rules. And neither is Caitlin Clark. That's why her reaction matters. It's not just what she said or didn't say. It's how she's shifting the entire conversation. From should players stay loyal to the league, to why hasn't the league earned their loyalty in the first place? And now, fans are being pulled into the debate. Some are furious, calling it a sellout move. Others see it for what it is, a long overdue reckoning. Because supporting women's sports means supporting the athletes, not just the logos on the jerseys. Clark is using her platform to do what few before have had the chance, or the courage, to do: force the system to take her seriously. So where does this go next? If Clark holds out, uses this offer to negotiate better terms within the WNBA, she still wins. If she takes the deal and signs with Project B, she still wins. Because either way, she just proved the one thing every women's athlete has known deep down. They've been undervalued, underpaid, and underestimated for far too long. This isn't a betrayal. It's a blueprint. Caitlin Clark is showing future athletes that the path to empowerment doesn't go through a single league. It goes through leverage. And the louder the haters get, the more obvious it becomes. They're not mad because she did something wrong. They're mad because she did something different. And different is exactly what the sport needed. 2. Drop your take in the comments. Should Clark take the deal? Is Project B the future of women's basketball, or just a shiny distraction? Would you leave the league if someone offered you $100 million? Hit that like button if you think players deserve to get paid what they're worth. Share this video with someone still clinging to the old playbook. And subscribe if you want the real story on the biggest power moves in sports. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about control, capital, and calling the shots. And Caitlin Clark just changed the rules. Caitlin Clark didn't just react to Project B's monster deal. She rewrote the rules of engagement in professional women's basketball. And now, everyone's scrambling to catch up. This is no longer about hypotheticals or rumors. The numbers are on the table. The intent is clear. Project B is here to dominate, and Caitlin Clark has officially stepped into the spotlight as the axis this entire conversation is spinning around. And whether she signs or not, the damage is already done. Because her name being in the room, at the center of this billion-dollar offer, with headlines exploding and social media melting down, has already forced a reckoning the WNBA was hoping to delay. For years, the league managed to sidestep these conversations with careful PR, legacy branding, and a slow-build approach that relied heavily on the idea that we're growing, just be patient. Well, patience doesn't cash a check. And now, Clark is a living, breathing proof that women's basketball does have market value, major market value. The kind of value that brings global investors to the table with blank checks and billion-dollar ambitions. The kind of value that makes billionaires restructure business plans and sports executives lose sleep. Let's be real. The WNBA has never faced a threat like this before. Not even overseas contracts have always lured players away temporarily, but never in a way that replaced a league. Not in a way that presented a full-scale rival, with year-round play, global broadcasting plans, and a player-first business model. Project B isn't just another off-season hustle. It's the main course. It's a full-service league looking to build from the top down, with the sport's biggest names as its cornerstone. Caitlin Clark being part of that blueprint, it gives the whole operation immediate legitimacy, instant traction. The conversation shifts from what if to what now. And if you think Clark doesn't know that, you're kidding yourself. She's not just playing ball anymore. She's playing chess. And every move she makes is calculated, especially in a moment like this, with the entire sports world watching. Whether she's stalling for leverage or seriously considering jumping ship, the message is the same. She has options now, and that alone breaks the mold. The WNBA is built on a model that assumes scarcity. Players didn't have options. They couldn't demand more. And if they did, they were either ignored, told to be grateful, or reminded that this league is about something bigger than money. But now the money is the message. And Caitlin Clark didn't shy away from it. She amplified it. She's forcing every stakeholder, league officials, players, agents, fans, media, to stop pretending that women's basketball isn't ready for a global financial upgrade. Because when billion-dollar offers land on your desk, you don't keep talking about exposure. You talk about equity. You talk about structure. You talk about a full-scale reevaluation of the entire system. That's what Project B is doing. And they're doing it unapologetically, by locking in high salaries, full-year schedules, international reach, and equity for players. They're creating something the WNBA has always talked about but never delivered. And by poaching Nico Gumake, the WNBA Players Association president, they didn't just get a powerful advocate. They got a map to the league's internal weaknesses. Every frustration, every stalled negotiation, every player grumbling about travel, pay, or marketing. Gumake knows it all. And now Project B does. Clark entering this conversation wasn't just a reaction. It was a confirmation. A confirmation that the league is vulnerable and that star players are done settling for less. The stakes couldn't be higher. If Clark moves to Project B, she won't just boost its visibility. She'll redefine what professional success looks like in women's sports. Up until now, success was staying in the WNBA, maybe getting a shoe deal, playing overseas in the winter, and hoping the league grew, fast enough to pay you what you're worth before your knees gave out. Project B changes that timeline. With Clark on board, success becomes something else entirely. Full-time basketball, massive salaries, ownership stakes, international competition, and a permanent seat at the table. It's not just about playing. It's about building something from the ground up, and that opportunity, it's seductive, especially to the younger generation of players watching this unfold in real time. Think about it. If you're a college star or a rising talent in the WNBA, and you're seeing Clark, arguably the most bankable name in the sport, openly engaged with Project B, you're not thinking about loyalty. You're thinking about leverage. You're thinking, if Clark can get that deal, why can't? And the truth is, that question is coming for everyone. The WNBA can't run from it anymore. Every top player is going to look at their contract, their schedule, their lifestyle, and start calculating what they're worth in this new landscape. And if Project B keeps offering $2 million base salaries, 10 times the average WNBA salary, it's not going to be a hard decision. This is a system-wide disruption. And the WNBA's silence isn't helping. So far, the league hasn't mounted any real countermessage. No bold plan. No restructuring news. Just vague gestures about valuing players and growing the game. Meanwhile, Project B is moving with speed and precision, setting the terms of the conversation while the WNBA plays catch. And Clark? She's doing what smart athletes do in moments like this. She's letting the pressure build. She's using her platform to show that she knows her worth, that she won't be guilted into staying in a system that doesn't match her value just for the sake of legacy. Because let's be honest, legacy doesn't pay like $1 billion contract. And this is what the WNBA and its fans have to grapple with now. That athletes don't owe anyone blind loyalty. That playing for the same team or staying in a league just because it came first doesn't make you a hero. It makes you underpaid. And women athletes are done being underpaid. They want what their male counterparts get, at least close to it. They want control, equity, real scheduling, real infrastructure, and compensation that reflects what they bring to the table. Project B is offering that, right now. So even if Clark stays, even if she never signs a deal, her reaction alone has cracked the foundation. The conversation will never return to what was before this offer went public. The world knows what's possible now. So do the players. And so does the WNBA. Whether they respond in time or at all is what comes next. There's no more hiding behind nostalgia. No more, but the WNBA paved the way speeches. That part is true, but it's also not enough anymore. Because now, players like Caitlin Clark are staring down generational wealth and asking the hard question out loud. Why should we keep sacrificing for a league that still doesn't pay us what we're worth? That's not disrespect. That's reality. And Clark's reaction to Project B's deal, whether she takes it, uses it for leverage, or lets it reshape the conversation, is a direct challenge to a system that's long relied on loyalty instead of compensation. Let's put the numbers on the table. The WNBA's max base salary hovers around $250,000. Project B, starting at $2 million, with potential earnings soaring well into 9 and even 10 figures if you factor in equity and long-term incentives. That's not a raise. That's a different economic planet. Fever Jersey, this isn't just about luxury. This is about the business of basketball. And Project B is speaking the language of power. Caitlin Clark knows she's the face of a movement. She's been packing arenas, breaking viewership records, and moving more merchandise than most male rookies in any league. If the WNBA can't lock her down with an offer that reflects her value, then how is it going to compete when Project B starts looking at the next 5 superstars? What's happening now is a shift from scarcity to abundance. For so long, women in sports have to make peace with less money, less attention, less stability. And it's not because they weren't talented. It's because the system wasn't built to reward them. But Project B is. It's using money the WNBA doesn't have, and making moves the WNBA hasn't dared to make. And now Clark, whether she stays or goes, becomes a symbol of what happens when you stop asking for scraps and start demanding terms. That's why the reaction online has been so intense. People aren't just reacting to the deal. They're reacting to the idea that a woman in basketball could command this kind of contract, that a player could flip the power dynamic with one conversation. That female athletes aren't just here to inspire. They're here to own. Of course, that makes some people uncomfortable. You got fans claiming it's not about the money, that she should grow the league from within, that taking a Saudi-backed deal is selling out. But here's the truth. No one said that when male athletes made the same move. No one was throwing moral panic when Ronaldo took the Saudi money, or when LIV Golf lured players away with outrageous checks. This debate only gets this heated when a woman dares to prioritize herself. And Clark? She's not flinching. She's keeping her options open, and she's making it known that everyone else better step up, because the days of being grateful for the opportunity are gone. This is about equity. This is about leverage. This is about forcing the system to catch up with the value the players have already proven. And here's what makes this different than anything we've seen before. Project B isn't just targeting players. It's targeting the system itself. By hiring Nico Gumek, they didn't just get a former player. They got a strategist. Someone who knows where the pain points are. Someone who sat in on every negotiation, heard every complaint, and knows exactly where the WNBA can't afford to compete. This is chess, not checkers. And now the WNBA is sitting in a corner of its own making, strapped for cash, stuck in CBA negotiations, trying to play defense, while Project B build an empire on offense. One headline at a time. And if Clark signs on the dotted line, that's the tipping point. Because it won't just be one player leaving. It'll be the validation every other star needs to follow. The message that loyalty doesn't pay. That the only way to shift the system is to stop playing by its rules entirely. That's the threat. But it's also the WNBA doesn't have to die. But it does have to evolve. And evolve quickly. Because Project B is moving with the speed of Silicon Valley and the cash reserves of an oil empire. The window to respond is shrinking by the day. Clark's reaction is the warning shot. It's the sound of the players asking louder than ever, what's in it for us? And if the answer isn't enough, they're gone. That's the new reality. Athletes have options now, real ones. And no amount of nostalgia or legacy branding is going to keep them chained to a system that can't match their value. 2. Clark didn't create this power shift. She's just smart enough to use it. And the rest of the league, the fans, the owners, they've got a choice to make. Step up or step aside. Let us know what side you're on. Is this the future of women's basketball? Should Clark take the Project B deal? Is the WNBA doing enough to compete? Or is it already too late? Drop your take in the comments. Hit that like button if you think it's time the players got paid. And don't forget to subscribe. Because whatever comes next, you're going to want front row seats. This isn't just a contract. This is a revolution.